Hi, Amanda. I want to welcome you.
Thank you, Dina. I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. We had met during the executive MBA class at Washington University way back in 2017. And there's something about your spirit and something about who you are that is just such a magnet for me. You've helped me throughout my whole career here since we've met each other, which is so short, yet it feels like I've known you for a lifetime. So I thank you for going through this process of interviewing you. And telling us a little bit about what your thoughts are about, the processes that you've gone through. And so let's jump in. I'd like to ask you some questions. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Awesome. So tell us who you are and what you want the audience to hear about what you're doing now and what's your current role.
Well, I am, honestly, I'm a reluctant leader. I did not want to become a supervisor. I did in one time, and then I had a bad experience. And so I pulled back and I said, well, maybe that's not what God wanted me to do. So I didn't do it. Then I was 15 years later, fast forward 15 years later, the hospital environment changed and our workload changed. I was the last one hired 15 years ago. And I was worried that I was going to be the first one fired for the future because our workload had dropped tremendously. And it was because the hospital had gotten sold. And we got sold to a big corporation. We were number 69 out of an eventual 128 hospitals. And so now I was a number. I was, a histotech, which is a technical person that literally takes tissue, when the surgeon takes tissue from a patient, we analyze it, cut it, stain it so that a physician can interpret it and look at it like a canvas. So your body tissue is a blank canvas that we study so that we can find out exactly what's going on with you, and diagnose your trouble. And we do that by applying stains so that it illuminates what's not visible to the eye otherwise. And so we use that by using your basic chemistry. And it's always fascinated me because body chemistry continues to work after it's separated from the body. We wouldn't have forensics. We wouldn't be able to do cancer diagnosis if the miracle of life didn't continue after death. So that gives me a personal purpose and a personal idea that there is life after death because tissue never stops reacting even after it's taken out of the body. So that's why I got fascinated in doing what I was doing because it shouldn't work. By all this when you take, tissue out of a body, it should no longer work, but it reacts as though it's still alive.
I love that. I feel your passion. I can feel it in your words, right? There's something very passionate about that. And I love that when you're looking at illuminating in what's not available to the eye and how important that is to you, and your role right now. What are you doing right now?
Right now, I'm a histotechnologist and I'm for the Veterans Administration Hospital. And I decided to do that for two reasons. Please don't make me cry. I lost my dad and I lost my uncle. And all of my male family members have been strong, hardworking men. And I know that's not necessarily true of in society for most Black men. So I feel extremely blessed for that. Because my grandfathers, my dad, my uncles, there wasn't a single one that didn't serve or didn't do something great to try to make us have a better life. And I wanted to emulate that. I didn't want to drop that ball. That ball was important to me to keep going. So I worked hard And I did that, but I had my own business at one. Well, I actually had two businesses at one time. I used to sell cakes on the weekends.
Yummy.
My income, and I did that because of another incident that happened, and my parents' 25th wedding anniversary, and me and my brother and sister could not afford to buy them a cake, and I went to a local cake bakery. Just so it happens that the person who owned the bakery was my this is weird, was my school bus driver when I was a kid. And this school bus driver almost accidentally hit me during an ice storm. I slid down the hill, and she didn't hit. I hit the side of the bus. It didn't kill me, but but it did scare me, and it scared her. And we became close throughout those years until I graduated. And then here she decided late in life to open that bakery and then teach classes at night. And my school bus driver taught me my first rudimentary how to do cake, cake decorating and baking and all that. And so that was wonderful. And then I moved to St. Charles, and then I got a certificate in baking later at a local teaching place, and then I started baking professionally out here because there were no. When I first came out here, it was still rural, so you could still cook out of your kitchen. Well, now it's grown up, so all that changed. But used to be able to do a whole lot of stuff that you can't do now. And so I sold cakes out of the house. And because I have that background in lab science, I knew what to do and how to make sure that nothing happens and that nothing grows in the house and all that, which is important to everybody right now.
I love that. Yeah, I want to tell you how much I appreciate who you are, right? It's so important. You're a woman of color, a Black woman who has taken the legacy of your father and your uncle, who have pushed towards things for solutions, but they're heartfelt solutions for other people. And you are a problem solver. And that's what I absolutely love about who you are, Amanda. And I want to ask you, what are the biggest challenges as a leader, and why is it so challenging?
Well, now I'm in a transition of life. And after 20 years of running laboratories, building people, watching young people take those reins, part of me is very sad about that. But then part of me is starting to embrace my different future. I realize now my different future isn't necessarily where I was. I was trying to stay, just like I did before, I was trying to stay where I was. That's not where God wants me. He took to VA in 2018. I didn't go. I decided I know there's things I want to do. I know that there's something I'm supposed to be doing with this executive MBA. And I thought that was going to be at my other job, but that wasn't it. So I tried other ways to try to still do the same thing I was doing. But he was telling me that page is turned. You cannot do this anymore. There's something else I need you to do. So just like back when I became the reluctant supervisor, I'm doing a reluctant thing now, and I'm being asked by the community to lead, and I'm nervous about that because that was something that my dad was always nervous about bringing a whole lot of attention to us in the house, because we were a multiracial family before it was cool. And so I can remember going to the grocery store was a head turning event. And we had to, and so you had to be, so we got this talk before we went out. We're going to go to the store. Stay close to us. Don't do this, don't do that. Make sure that you keep, if you get separated, make sure you just either stand exactly where you are or go up to the front of the counter. So we had a procedure for everything because people would talk about us. They'd turn heads because we were a biracial family, and that was illegal. And the year I was born, and so it was hard. It was really hard. And so you just got used to people. Sometimes I think maybe God did that so that I could learn to not necessarily pay attention to the fact that people would be necessarily upset about what I look like or the role in which he was going to have to place me, so that I would not worry so much about that. But I still do worry about it. And that's been my biggest challenge. Of wanting to fit in at the same time wanting to be part of something that's bigger than myself. And it's difficult when people don't necessarily want you there. So, but I've learned to push through that, and that's made me a little deaf to when people push back against me sometimes, because I expect that. It's an expectation, so that when that occurs, I just learn to say, okay, and not pay any attention, which sometimes can be bad, because I mean, I'm missing a cue that I should have picked up on, and I missed it because I'm not, I'm tuned to the fact that I may be automatically not liked or not wanted. And so I miss the cue sometimes of why it is. Because I think it's one thing and it may be actually something else. And how do you know that isn't something that you need to change or fix in your person versus how you're perceived by society? So it makes it difficult. So you learn to become a fighter against everything when it's actually maybe not to your best, it's not necessarily what's best for you. So you make mistakes along the way that, and you may have misjudged people that are actually in your corner. So, and that's something that unfortunately you have to learn over time, and you have to learn to be a little more open than maybe you'd like to, and yourself to get maybe hurt, so that you can know, because sometimes it's not a bad thing to get hurt. You know, a hot stove is hot. You'll never do it again. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
So be open to the experience like a child, but then at the same time, be wary like an adult, knowing that this new experience will have to be open for you to change and make you available in ways that, and keep you available in ways that you didn't necessarily think you could actually do. So I know that's difficult for somebody who hasn't been in a situation, or maybe has been in a situation.
Right.
They felt that that they were against a rock and a hard place, and you get too defensive, and now you can't learn what you need to learn to help yourself. That helps you too.
Right. Exactly. Well, you shared some really important things, and I want to restate those to make sure that I've got those right. Okay. There really was some real sensitivities about how you looked, which was obviously just based on being from a biracial family, but also that need to fit in also created a blindness, for you in trying to figure out. But once you opened your heart and be willing to be vulnerable, is that where you found you could overcome it? And I want to go back to that question, how did you overcome that? Because those are really heavy, heartfelt things that you experienced throughout your life. Your whole family did. right? And nobody can sit in your seat except for you because they're your experiences. How did you overcome that?
We learned to keep our circle tight. And I think that's one of the reasons why my family stayed together. So, we had such a strong family structure that that was the envy of people around us. They're like, God, your dad comes home every night. Your dad does this. Your dad does that. You guys work together on the weekends. You guys are the perfect family. I remember friends when I was a kid saying, your mom is Leave It to Beaver, because she was a stay-home mom.
Yeah.
All the cooking, and she did all the cleaning, and she was there for us. She was the homeroom mother, and she did stuff for the other kids in the class. So when my parents died, it was a neighborhood event. People contacted me that were kids when I was kid. We were children, going, I feel like I lost my parents too, because a lot of those kids it was the 70s. There were the first latchkey kids that people didn't realize were latchkey kids in the 70s, where both parents had just started working. One might be a maid, and the other maybe was working for a railroad, or one was a nurse, and the other was working for we had a Chevy plant back then. So there was a Chevy plant, and these were all union and, skilled and unskilled laborers. And these were people who worked themselves up from basically nothing. Some of them came up from sharecropper families from Mississippi and looking for something better. And this was the first time we had the opportunity to be in the middle class. So it was very important, and our neighborhoods were very important. And so we watched out for each other and made sure that everybody, we knew all the neighbors on the entire block, which still translated when I came here to St. Charles. That was a focus. Make sure you know who your neighbors are, so they know who you are. If something happens, we can protect one another. And although the neighborhood has changed, I had a majority Black neighborhood in Pine Lawn, and then I have a majority white neighborhood. I guess just because our values didn't change, then my environment never changed either. So when we came out here, the guy we bought the house from, Mr. Bill Whitaker, he actually, Bob Whitaker, actually, when we bought the house, he decided that, since we were the first Black family, let's build their house first. So if people don't want to move out here, then they won't. And so then our neighbors filled in around us. And then we all bonded together over the years and became very close. The Marchbanks across the street, me and my dad and him were best friends. My dad had a difficult time when Mr. Harvey passed away. Before he did, he said, boy, I should be talking to Mr. Harvey.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I want to go back to something that, sounded to me like it was kind of that difficult place for you. And that was around creating that vulnerability for yourself. What did you try before that maybe did not work?
I would try to win people over because I knew there was going to be people that were, or I had experienced that were people that were constantly and going to always be resistant to me. And because I knew that I could possibly change their mind if given an opportunity, I never, ever really suspected that there would be people I could never change. I didn't. And those people always took me aback, because I thought, why aren't you open to the possibility that you could be wrong? Because being open to the possibility that you can be wrong opens you to learning and learning from your mistakes. When you're closed off like that, you can never learn from your mistakes because you're not going to acknowledge that there was one.
Right.
And so it stagnates your personal growth. And and it hurts other people around you, and which is so sad. But I didn't I didn't know how to handle that kind of sadness and that kind of stopping motion and allowing your life to just stop like that without wanting to grow, without analyzing it, without trying to figure out, I still, that's an impasse for me. I still don't know where to put a person who just doesn't want to do anything. I still don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I think that's the magical question for the world, right?
Yeah.
Really. So I want to go back to, what was the results of having a system that could support your views of having an open possibility?
People are willing to take a trip with you. Those people are willing to be, they're also searching for something different. When people are searching for something different and for something better, and they have a innate human Star Trek kind of thing where they are also always looking for that higher purpose or higher level of existence, or they're just simply looking for something that opens them up in ways that other people who feel that they have or don't need anybody do. And so I just think that openness allows you to be willing to explore avenues that you didn't necessarily, it allows you to make a turn you wouldn't normally turn. I might go down the street and go down that street every single day, but not know what's on any of the streets that are adjacent to the streets that I take. So they're unknown to me. And maybe a simple change of direction may show you that, it's a faster way, or it's a better way. Or, you see something, you pass a park now, which changes your mindset. It's, it's little things in life.
That's powerful what you just said, because you said that willingness to take a trip with you is an important thing to help with the roads, right? It's that mindset shift. So what was life like before you experienced diagnostic thinking?
Well, when I first started with diagnostic thinking, I was not thinking that I'm just going to be bluntly honest.
Absolutely.
Going to work. I thought that it was a little too cerebral, and that it probably was not going to help me get in touch with anything that I wasn't already in touch with. But I'm going to try, because I always like to make that other turn just in case that I see a new park or a new idea or a new something that was a blind spot to me before. So I took that turn. And once I started taking that turn, I did start seeing things I didn't see before. One of the things I saw is that I had a hard-headedness about not wanting to move maybe as fast as I should on certain things. I want to check things out to the nth degree before I make them. I don't want to, because I've been hurt indirectly by other people's decisions. So I did not want that to be as a decision maker. I did not want to be that person who did not think out the decision before I made that decision. So I'm a little hesitant to make a quick decision unless I'm, forced to. But if I am, then I'm still going to constantly analyze it through the situation, so that if I have to make a turn, I will make that turn in the middle of that system and say, hey, I see we're going down the wrong road. Let's change this. So I feel as though diagnostic thinking actually gave me permission to maybe not dig as deep as I was digging, because there are ways to make a change, that don't require me to know the nth degree. I don't have to know, obviously you can't know absolutely everything, but I was trying to know everything because I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to be Jean Valjean from Les Mis, where, I accidentally, responsible for killing a lady. I did not want that. Now I have to take her children. So,
yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Les Mis, but that's exactly what happened. He made that bad decision. And so he ended up keeping that woman's child for life.
Yeah. I love what you shared. It's so powerful, Amanda, because I want to go back to that because it's so important, right? This fear of being hurt and having to go through the layers to make sure that you could check all the boxes to make sure you're not on the other side of hurt, and giving yourself permission that you don't worry about that piece. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
You don't put so much bank in that place, and you've given yourself permission to move forward without all the answers. Is that what I heard you say?
Absolutely. And that was essential for me to be a supervisor of supervisors, because when I was just a supervisor over my people, I could control the entire outcome. Yeah. But when I supervised supervisors, they now controlled the outcome. And my first inclination was to be a micromanager to them. Mm-hmm. And I knew I hated that as a supervisor. So I was like, but I can't do it. So what do I do now that I'm managing people who manage people? So I had to learn to let that go and realize that my training of giving them my best me was giving them the best that they could be. So I did make myself open to anyone who was a learning supervisor and try to give them what they needed. Now, I've had young supervisors that just wanted to absorb my knowledge, but you can't absorb what took me 30 years in minutes. I can't just, just hand that over to you. It's just not right. Something that you can, that's something you do working together side by side. What you do as a person, you have to learn to invite your managers, invite your supervisors, maybe have a relationship with them outside. So what I did to learn to do that is one of my very first supervisors, and I kept relationships with my supervisors. For that reason, when I became a supervisor, I made sure that I went back to them and said, hey, how did you handle this? I remember working for you, and this is what you did. I'm thinking about doing something similar. So I used my other managers and then my peers in other departments as my mentorship to help myself grow. And then when I could no longer grow that way, that's when I decided to become an EMBA, because I knew I exhausted everything that I had.
Yes. And I love that you did that, because I would never know you. So that was a blessing for me. So what were some of the key takeaways after you experienced the diagnostic thinking sessions, after you realized what they really are?
First of all, it opened me up to other people that in other levels that I thought were close to me. And because I thought that that there was a natural progression to attaining levels of power and authority. So I thought, okay, I'm a manager, I need to be a director next. And so I was concentrating solely on the directorship, and I didn't think that there could possibly be other possibilities, because I've been in situations where I've created something from nothing. and actually building an entrepreneurial venture, I acted than just as the manager, even though that was my title. So I got hung up on titles. And you let me see that that wasn't, that wasn't the focus. And so when an opportunity came up just recently, and they said, oh, well, we're changing the job from a director's job because of the level of responsibility, and we're moving up to vice president. I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know if I can do that. And then I was like, and then I hung up the phone, and I was like, you idiot. Same job. She did not change anything. What are you doing? You let the words vice president scare you. You've done that role. You can do that role. You're growing something for nothing from you've been CEO of your own cake business. You've been CEO of your own, I had a craft business too, where I would do craft shows on the weekends as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of did do that. So I underappreciated myself and some of the things that I did because I got stuck on the titles and of what I'd done previously, and not actually focused on the tasks of what I did, or the relationships, or what I had done throughout the years. And I did leverage that. So this made me started thinking about leveraging that. And we had a conversation. I actually let this happen on like a Monday. Then we had our conversation on Tuesday. And I was like, oh no, I totally messed that up. So on Wednesday, I picked up the phone and I called the lady. And then I didn't get her right away. So I left her an email. And I told her, I said, look, I apologize. I let the vice president scare me because I just felt that there was a natural progression, and actually the job description didn't change. Nothing changed. You told me nothing changed. The only thing that changed was the title, and I let the title scare me. And so, which I should not have, I don't know why I did. I don't know why I didn't see myself in that role. It was the same role, only the name was changed.
Yeah. I love that. So what I heard you say is it allowed you to see the possibilities and the possibilities, but also seeing all the places where you do fit, and how you have these tremendous plethora of skills from, operations to CEO to finance to analytics to so many different things that you have in your armamentarium. So I'm so glad that you were able to see all those great things that you have, because you do have a lot of great things. My next question for you, Amanda, is what are the tools, resources, and support that you use right
now? I use you.
Yes.
My friend, my confidant, my coach, my diagnostic thinker. Use my family. I use talking to my friends in the field that have been in the field with me for years. They want to transition to a simpler life. Well, I am looking to transition to a more complicated one. And I do it all the time because, Nancy Pelosi decided she wanted to do something different at 70. She was 70 when she started out doing this. So, like, if she can do this and become Speaker of the House in her 70s, Joe Biden and Donald Trump can be president in their 70s, then the best is yet to come.
That's exactly right.
For somebody who really wants to decide that there's life after a previous life. Nancy did it because her kids were grown and she wanted to do something for the world, and this was her.
I love that. I
want to do something similar.
Yes.
I kind of just concentrated on my family. My mom had a heart condition, so I did a lot of things for her. And then when my mom passed away, my dad was at an age that he couldn't cook for himself. and things like that. So he would just go out a lot. And then for the first 4 years after my mom died, he was pretty good. But we used to visit a lot together. So sometimes he'd bring over the meat and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to cook some pork chops?" And I was like, "Okay." So in that, I came home and started helping him out, and eventually I took care of him until he passed. And now it's the time again to work just on me. So I feel like I've gone full circle to come back to now concentrate on things that I want to do all my life that never had the opportunity to do. But now I'm armed with degrees and experience.
Yes.
Now what do I do with all of this?
Well, I will tell you, from my perspective, you're going to do great things because your journey is just beginning. I truly believe that. I've always told you that, but I've always believed that about you. And I'd love to just end this session with one last question for you. What would you say to somebody who's considering working with the diagnostic leadership system?
I would say stay open, because if you don't, you're not going to get anything out of it. And this is not for the leader that's holding your hand through this. This is for you. So stay open to the possibilities of you and what you can do. Because if you don't, you can miss out on not taking the right turn or the left turn that you should have been able to take, and you're just going to stay stuck on that one long road. Be willing to make those turns and let that person guide you. You're not by yourself, and it's okay to let go and open your heart to be able to do something.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's opening your heart to possibilities, but also going together is that we're not on an island, right? And that's my heart for every woman around the world. And anyone who wants to be a part of that is to know that, it really is around the heart work for each other and helping each other be successful. And there's something very special about that very spiritual place. So I thank you for your interview, Amanda. I think you're amazing. You will be doing amazing things, and I'm just going to sit back and watch you and support you. So thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you, Dina.
You're welcome. I appreciate you, Amanda. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.